a few folks have just showed up, and we'll have a few folks, I'm sure, showing up here within the next couple of minutes. But just wanted to welcome everyone to the Tartan.App webinar. We're so glad to have Roisin with us today. She's going to go through the presentation, and then I'll just react or add comments, as we've had now many of our customers begin buying the product and experiencing it. I'm Charlie. I'm the CEO of Advent Tech. Advent Tech, if you haven't worked with us before, because we did invite a lot of new friends to the webinar, we've been around a little over 3 years. And I've been in ed tech for about 20 years, but we're focusing a lot on, school safety and security these days. And that drives right into the heart of this topic, which is the cybersecurity awareness and training. So, Roisin, why don't you introduce yourself real quick, and then you can take it from here. One more housekeeping item is the Q&A is open and available. So if you want to drop a question in there, we'll answer those questions at the end. Roisin?
Incredible. Thanks so much, Charlie. My name's Roisin. I am the co-founder here at Tartan.App. So thank you all so much for joining. It's very appreciated. Today we're going to cover a lot of things, but first I really want to start with something that we truly see over and over again. So the phishing email really most likely to fool someone at a school usually looks completely routine. So it looks like a comment notification, a shared file, or a meeting invite. These really work because school staff spend their days inside spaces like Google Workspace, Google Classroom, Canva, DocuSign, Frontline, and different emails. They're moving quickly from one request to the next. Teachers, staff, principal, district leaders are all trained in their job to respond quickly, collaborate often, and keep things moving. So with that, it creates a real opening for attackers. If a phishing email feels like normal work, people are far more likely to trust that. So we can clearly see in Tartan's own data across all Tartan customers, the average phishing click rate score is about 8%. But some of the highest performing baits are collaboration emails. So a fake someone added a comment in a Google Classroom email has driven a 45% click rate. So that is a risk environment that schools are really adapting to and operating in today. Over the next few minutes, I really want to show you what's changed in the threat landscape of K through 12, what school staff are actually clicking on, and what kind of training is most effective if you want the risk to come down over time. Of course, we'll have some time for Q&A at the end, but feel free to drop your questions in the chat as we kind of continue to go through this. Charlie's going to be monitoring that. So before we get into specific attack types, it really helps to understand why schools are such an attractive target. So what are the incentives? Schools pay bills every day that can be rerouted to an attacker's bank account. They have cyber insurance policies that will pay out a ransom attack, and they have tons of private confidential information. So school employees are juggling many responsibilities, they're moving quickly, and they're handling urgent requests, approving things quickly, and juggling dozens of different systems. That creates the perfect opening for phishing. Attackers don't need to invent some bizarre scenario. They just really need to imitate the kinds of messages that school staff already deal with even every day. So when an email feels familiar, people process it faster, and that's where the risk really does start to climb. So in 2026, phishing has dramatically changed. The attacks reaching schools today are more polished, they're more contextual, and they camouflage into everyday workflows. So we're seeing business emails compromised, threat hijacking, fake threads, QR code attack, those fake email invites, fake Google Meet invites, and they're living off trusted sites. AI is now generating messages that read perfectly and can look really credible at a first or even second glance.
One of my salespeople, Luke, who you've met, forwarded me an email thread the other day and said, "I don't think this is really you, but it sure looks like you." And it was someone who was sending him a link to click on and said, "Hey, I've met with Charlie, your CEO." And he forwarded an email exchange as if I had had an email exchange with him, faking the whole email thread, where I said, I'm gonna have you forward this email to Luke for him to review. And again, it was very clever because it was like an email we would do. And he
Yeah.
just said, the signature doesn't actually look like your email signature. So I don't think this is from you, but yes, these are getting really scary and really accurate. And yeah.
100%. They're getting really hard to spot. Um, Attackers now are also combining like multiple tactics in the same message, similar to how you just described. So they're using a familiar brand or name, like yourself, referencing a believable task, a request, and really using normal language that every day we would use to chat with each other. These often will include like a QR code that links to a trusted site and then push the user into really quick action. So, this is where a lot of awareness programs are really falling behind. So, many schools are still relying on those annual videos, those generic phishing templates that are really meant for big corporations. I don't know anybody in K through 12 that's using Salesforce. So,
Right.
they're really just not as effective and what K through 12 actually needs. So those punishing long compliance modules or quizzes, these formats just really don't prepare the staff for a realistic phishing message arriving in the middle of a busy day. This is why the awareness programs really do have to change. Schools need training that reflects the real life attack surface integrated with short, effective, and also positive training that's really relevant to K through 12. So what is Tartan doing and what are school staff actually clicking on? This is some data that really gets me excited, and hopefully, you guys will find this really interesting. So, when we actually look at the Tartan data, the area with the highest risk by far is those collaboration notifications. So, in aggregate, comments added have a click rate of 29%. So, this is over three times our average. The strongest examples were Google Classroom at 45%, Google Slides at 33%, and Google Documents at 28%. So these messages are really working because they naturally fit into your school day. How many times have you received one of these emails just daily? So staff are really used to those comments and those edits and those review requests. A fake collaboration alert feels like something that they need to open right away, make sure that they're replying too quickly. And that's really where the risk falls. A lot of these will lead directly to Google Workspace, which will easily compromise their account. Another major pattern and concerning one is the shared with you notifications. So in aggregate, those have a click rate of 17%, which is two times our average. Those top examples would be Google Photos, DocuSign, Adobe Acrobat Sign, and also Canva shares. So these make sense. Again, in a school environment, staff are constantly opening documents, presentations, and shared resources. A message about a file waiting for review feels routine, feels like something they need to check. And these often will, again, get processed very quickly. Another one that sees strong performance is operational emails. So these are emails from your benefits, your tax, and HR updates. Again, the request feels really believable. It's something that you would normally kind of be receiving. These include emails about health benefits, vendor tax documents, and personal tax documents. Those messages are effective for the same reason. They suggest a real task tied to a recognizable brand, with a step that feels reasonable. So people are reacting to a task that really looks legitimate. Something that's really changed over the course of the last year is generic lures are much weaker than they used to be. So we're seeing in our data that K through 12 staff are really much better at detecting attacks like a password reset and expiration email.
That's good news.
It's
Some good
good
news.
news.
Yeah.
So there's improvements in some ways. These are only aggregating about 5%. So the term and policy emails come in at about 6%, so a little bit better, which tells us that users are less fooled by those broad, generic scare tactics than they used to be. The higher risk messages are the ones that really do blend into the tools and vendors and notifications that people expect to see.
Yeah.
So I think the practical takeaway is clear. I think within the data, we're able to easily see that Tartan customers and K through 12 customers in general are really more vulnerable to collaboration tools, document comments and sharing, and then also vendor notifications. They're less vulnerable to those generic baits like password expiry emails and generic gift card style scams. For K through 12 leaders, that means awareness training has to actually match the way that school staff work and what they're actually clicking on. So Tartan's approach. This is exactly why we built Tartan around automated simulations with fast rollout, sub 30-second micro training, and schools do not need more content for the sake of content. They need repeated practice against threats that are actually working right now. The practice should be continuous because the threats really aren't stopping or slowing down at any point. If anything, they may be increasing. So Tartan is built for schools that need a program they can launch quickly, run consistently, and fit into a real school day. Campaigns are automated. The attack library keeps growing with current threats. So we're really trying to stay on the pulse on what real life attacks are happening out there. And the follow-up training is short enough to absorb without pulling staff out of their work. We know you guys are busy. We know your staff are busy. Um, so that helps to give schools repeated exposure to the attack themes that they are working on right now without turning awareness training into another heavy lift for IT. So the goal is really steady improvement that leadership can actually see over time. Schools need visibility into those click rates, those repeat clickers, campaign performance, and overall risk trends. That really makes it possible to spot where staff are improving, and then also identify the gaps, so where coaching is still needed and whether the program is actually reducing the risk over time. I'll pause there. I would love to show you guys what tartan looks like inside, and so I'll bring that up.
While you're doing that, there was a question that you could probably answer on the fly. What is the approach of the campaigns? I think the Tartan.App campaigns that you're going to send out, is it sort of a surprise attack style, or is it more collaborative where you give people a window uh, of when things are going to happen, or even threat samples, look for this or look for that, and then you test them after the fact? I think that probably comes down to the schools or school district's
Yeah.
preference, obviously, but I'm curious how you would answer that.
Amazing. I think that's a great question. And something that we often hear. A lot of schools want to give a heads up to their staff, and that's something that is common. My personal preference is continuous training and surprise attacks, because unfortunately, in real life phishing, you're never going to know when something's coming in. You could be having the busiest day of your life, and that's when you receive an email that is asking you to comment on a shared file. And so, with that in mind, continuous kind of behavioral training really does help people spot that over time on their busiest day or their quietest day. So that's why we do randomized training. You can pause the campaign at any point, and I'll walk you kind of through what that looks like. And you can also launch it, give them warning that you're implementing something cybersecurity related and something's going to be coming out if that's a little bit of an way to ease everybody into it. But I do like a surprise.
Yeah, I know one customer's kind of just said, hey, teachers unions, have
Mhm.
actually opposed some of our attempts to do
Yeah,
cybersecurity training in the past. And so yeah, I think, unfortunately, IT directors do have to clarify a lot of these things with
yeah,
teachers or instructional leaders. And hey, we may have a report feature so we can see how people are doing, but will this be a part of their employment review, or promotional records? Again, that really comes down to school district preference. It's like Tartan's not going to send an email to the superintendent and says, look, this teacher has failed 3 times. That's all just information you will have available,
yeah.
but it's really up to you how you guys want to use it.
Exactly. And the campaign is very customizable that way. So if you do have constraints with unions, you are able to kind of work around that with the campaign.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome. So I'll show you a little bit about high level what the application looks like. But of course, if anybody's interested in learning more, reach out to us at info@adventech, and we would be happy to kind of do a more in-depth demo for you guys. So your regular account settings here, but I really do want to highlight the service section. So this is where you can customize the types of emails that is being sent in the phishing campaign. So this is great because it actually makes sure that it's relevant tools and technologies that your school is actually using. So here you can select or deselect as many that make sense to your school. There's about 70 different ones. We do also, in addition to this, have the more generic emails as well that go along with it, like your Netflix and your Uber Eats. But this is to be a little bit more specific and a little bit more catered for K through 12 in your specific school district. Down here, you can customize the frequency of your campaign. So you can choose every 15, 30, 60, or 90 days, which is how often somebody's going to be receiving an email. It's going to be totally randomized during that time. So no two people are going to be getting the same email at the same time to again make it a little bit more realistic, similar to what we were just talking about. They're not going to know exactly when the email is coming out to them, and you can choose to separate it to be every 90 days if that's something that feels a little bit more comfortable for your school. We recommend somewhere between 30 and 60 days. Down here, we've recently launched impersonation attacks. So, just as we were kind of talking about, this is one of the newest kind of features that's being used to attack K through 12. So you'll often, I'm sure all of you have received an email that's posing as your principal or your superintendent, needing you to transfer them $500 or to send you their school password. So this is a way that you guys can make sure that there's behavioral practicing in place for your school district. What you would be doing here is adding a placeholders, so it pulls in the first name and last name as well as job title of those kind of key people, those people in IT tech, finance and HR, and also your district leadership team. So those are the ones it's going to pull in the names of. You can add in your logo or your school's email, whatever actually makes sense for your signature to make it look as legitimate as it possibly can. The emails are going to have 24 different scenarios that they're going to be sending out, asking for different things. So that is what that's going to kind of look like. This will be in addition to all of the other regular kind of phishing emails that go out. So both are available and again will be randomized throughout your campaign. So people aren't just going to be receiving one type. We do also have Google Workspace integration. So this works with your organizational unit, your group, or your department to sync with your workspace every 6 hours. So if anybody new is added or somebody leaves the organization, it's automatically synced within 6 hours. So the same day that's going to be fixed.
And you can even select that by the OU, by the organizational unit, like you said. So it's not just
Exactly.
going to grab everybody. It's going to grab the
Yeah,
people you tell it to.
exactly. So if you have any distribution emails or anything like that in there, you can make sure that they're not selected. You can also double check your recipient page here to make sure everything looks good. And if you want, you can also do a manual upload CSV as well. So that's always an option. Then you can go ahead and launch your phishing campaign. We really call it a set it and forget it tool. So once you launch it, it's going to continuously run, which means no manual kind of intervention from you every 30 or 60 days. You can, however, pause your campaign at any point just by clicking here. So you do have full authority to do that. For spring break, or if there's kind of a busy time for teachers, you can pause it at any point. Otherwise, it will continue to run based on the frequency that you previously selected. I'll show you guys some example emails about different ones that we send out to people, but of course, this is just maybe 5% of what we send out. So here's a Canva Pro subscription one. This one does tend to get a lot of clicks, as we talked about, because it's something that people would normally be receiving. A Adobe Acrobat signing one, so this is an updated terms one. Within each service email, we do have multiple templates that will be sent out for each provider. Here's a Starbucks gift card one. We do also pull in recipients' names. So we'd say, Charlie sent you this gift card or he shared this document with you to make it a little bit more realistic for your school district. Here's a Skyward Finance one, and everything is clickable. So all of the social media posts down the bottom, an unsubscribe button, everything would take you to the same link that I'll show you in a second. Here is a DocuSign one as well. They look very realistic. These are all our hard level ones. We do have 3 levels of difficulty. This is hard. This is where everyone's going to start. If they do click, they would get a medium level one the next time, which is just going to have some more spelling mistakes. And then if they click again, they would get an easy level one, which is going to have plain text, no logo, to really help build up their confidence and help them know what to look forward. Otherwise, they would stay at the hard level or move back up over time. We've also recently launched the QR phishing code. So here they'd be able to scan the emails as well. This is a great way for them to also have that behavioral training covered when they do receive any kind of phishing attacks with the QR code. This is the pop-up they will receive if they scan anything or click on anything. It immediately lets them know that they did click on a phishing simulation email. It has helpful tips to keep in mind to help keep your school safe, like checking the sender's emails or hovering over those links. It has an example email as well, calling that out for where to look going forward, and then why this matters and how to learn and improve.
I think this is important because this really came up. A good question from Nicholas. We don't want our teachers to feel like they're being punished, but they're being
Yeah.
informed. And so this isn't like a gotcha reaction, and this isn't, or we've notified your supervisor immediately of what you're doing.
No.
Yeah, it just really takes them through, like, hey, this is what you need to know, what you need to look out for, which is very helpful.
And the only people that will know that somebody's clicking on those emails is obviously the individual themselves and the admin that's set up on the account. You can have multiple admins set up, but nobody else would have access to the reporting page, so none of the other staff members or students. It would really just be the administrators on the account.
Yeah. There's a good question. Maybe this is a good time. I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah.
totally hijacking the Q&A, but if the staff does a good job and actually hit the report spam button,
Mhm.
will the Tartan app get that feedback and be able to report that to the IT director or whoever set this up?
Yeah, that's an amazing point. That's something that we're rolling out in May and June.
Okay.
So we're rolling out a fish reporting button, which is going to be the Tartan Shield, which would be a Google add-on that they can add into their Gmail. With that, if they report an easy level email, they'd get 25 points. A medium email, they'd get 50 points. And then a hard tartan email, they'd get 100 points. If it's a real life phishing email, they'd get 150 points. And then for completing
Mm,
video training, they would also get another 200 or 150 points. So that's something that we're rolling out to, again, make it a little more gamified for the staff, to make it a little bit more incentivized for them to be reporting those emails. There'll also be a leaderboard that will be shared. It's not going to show the lowest staff. It's just going to show you can do it by school or department on kind of who's performing the best and who's reporting most of those emails. It'll also have the ability to remove emails from people's inboxes, which you can choose to have turned on or off. And that way, if somebody is reporting a real life phishing attack email, it can be removed from everybody's inbox at once.
great.
Amazing. Any other questions before I continue to the demo? How are we doing?
There are more questions. I say you wrap up your demo and then
Okay.
we can run over with questions if we need to.
Perfect. I will be quick. Here is your video training dashboard. So we do have a video training dashboard that covers everything cybersecurity, not just those phishing emails. So they are shorter in length because again, we don't want people aren't watching those 1 hour training videos, but hopefully if it's a little bit more bite-sized, it's something that's a little bit more manageable for the staff or students. They're 1 to 5 minutes in length. You are able to filter by videos that's applicable to everyone, employees only, or students. You can schedule and send these out, so you can send it to everybody at once. You can also filter to send it by specific schools or departments, and then also by failure count. So those people that are continuously clicking that are a little bit click happy, you can send them some additional ad hoc training to give them a little bit extra help. When you go to schedule the campaign, you can see that an automated reminder email will be sent every 7 days. So again, that's something done on your behalf. You don't need to manually email everybody that hasn't watched the video. You can choose a future start date, so it's something that you can plan ahead, as well as a completion date for the video training. You can preview what that video training is going to look like, double check all of your recipients to make sure everything looks good. If I'm a recipient, when I receive the video training email, this is the pop-up that I would get taken to when I click on the video training. So this is they are able to watch this on mobile, on web, and it also has subtitles available for them as well. They don't need to create a login. It really just is this page, and it's going to track their progress that they're actually watching the video for. Going back into the Tartan app, you will also have a reporting dashboard. So here you'll have your phishing dashboard with a phish risk score. The higher the percentage is the worse your school is doing. So you do want to see that number go down over time. You can see your total recipients, filter by your schools, your departments, and then also by email difficulty. A trend of data over time. Down here, you can also see your failure report. So this is everybody that's clicking on those emails. You can see when it was sent to them versus when they clicked on it. And of course, you can view every single email as well. In the log, you will also be able to see every single email that was sent out, so you kind of can have a little bit more visibility into your campaign. You can also see here if there's a 1 for the error, it does mean they clicked on the email. So again, another way to tell your failure report. And then the schedule. So these are emails that are still planned to go out, so you know kind of where you're at and how many more emails are left. Your training dashboard here, so you'll have an overall completion rate, You can see all of your different campaigns, and then you can also drill into each video that you've sent out. The progress tracks how many minutes that they're watching for. You can see the date that they actually watched the video and who it was. This is also all filterable. You can also add multiple users as mentioned, which is here, but that is kind of our application overview. Maybe we'll go back to questions now.
Some really good ones. Will there be a Microsoft 365 integration in the future for the impersonation feature?
Of course, yes, that's definitely something that we're going to be rolling out in the next couple months.
Okay. And then will cost be covered? So someone wants to know, what does it cost? And then there's a question about if there's student and staff or just staff options.
Yes. So let me take you to the training page. Sorry, our pricing
The
page.
website. Yep.
So here we do have full kind of visibility into what our pricing looks like for Tartan.App. It's a flat rate that covers employees and or students. It is customizable, so if you only want the student training in your high schools, you can choose to only select that number of schools versus your staff you would want at all schools. There's also no hidden fees or extra onboarding fees that go along with it. Here you can easily use the toggle to change how many schools, sorry, that you have. You can choose to add in students or to add out students. And you can easily see here that we do offer some discounts. So for 3 years, it's 5% off. And for 10 years, it is 10% off. For private schools, we do also have pricing. We do base it on the number of employees and students. So that's a little bit different. But otherwise, for public schools, it is based on the number of schools that you have. If you want a legitimate quote or to have a proper demo, please reach out to Admin Tech. We would love to send you something a little bit more formalized.
Yeah. And these are the prices you are going to get too, which is really great, right? So this isn't just a kind of a gotcha either. Someone did the math for us, because they had a number of schools and they wanted this plus the videos, and they said,
Yeah.
I think I'll still be around 1,200. And we're like, oh yeah, good math. You're right at 1127. So yeah, you can do the math here, but we'll also do the math for you because there are discounts for multiple years. There's discounts for multiple school sites, obviously. This is still, though, one of the least expensive solutions
Yeah.
out there. So if you just wanted one school site for 1 year, you don't want the video training, you don't want to do it with students. I mean, it starts at $116 per site. And anybody that has looked at pricing for phishing solutions knows that that is incredibly low cost. Now you add the video training, it adds just a tiny bit more. And if you want to add student phishing, it does add a little bit more, but you're still talking about the most affordable phishing training solution out there. And I know we've looked. So someone asked a question again about the students, and they said, hey, when you do student phishing, is it grade level appropriate? Is it student specific, or is it kind of similar to what you do for staff?
That's a great question. So, what I will say is it only really makes sense to add students if your students are receiving external emails. If they're not, it might not make sense to add them in. So keep that in mind for sure. When we do student emails, we do have rules set in place for students and staff. So students would be receiving emails a little bit more catered towards them. So they'd be receiving those Kahoot emails, those Schoolology emails, different things that make a little bit more sense. Google Classroom, they're not going to be receiving tax documents or something that would just not be appropriate for a student to receive. For staff, we do also have rules in place for different roles in different departments. So if you're in an accounts payable position, you would get more invoices, versus a teacher might get kind of more things that's related to their role as well.
Yeah. Another great question from Nicholas. Do you have a demo video I can share with our uh, unions and certified teachers? We recorded this webinar, so we'll make that available.
Yeah,
And then we, do a specific demo for you. So Rasheen is nonstop doing demos with our customers and then helping us to generate these quotes using their discounting system. So we're really happy to do that. But we'll also send everybody that registered for this webinar, we'll send you a link to the webinar. A few other questions are coming in. I see they're over here on the private side. I think all the questions are private, but these ones were labeled that way. And we'll answer one more, and then we'll let everybody drop if you need to, because we're just about at time. But somebody said, how often should we be running phishing campaigns?
We recommend continuously. So it's something that if people are continuously doing that behavior, they're able to kind of implement it a little bit easier into their daily lives. So that's something that we would recommend, and 30 to kind of 60 days in terms of the frequency of those phishing emails.
And then how do the emails come out? Will one teacher get the email and then warn the others? That's a good question. That question comes up a lot, actually.
It definitely does. We randomize it as much as we can. So no two teachers are going to get the same email at the exact same time, and it's also not going to come from the same sender or the same technology. So it's going to be posing as many different things. So it's going to be totally randomized between that 30-day period, if that's what you've selected, in terms of what they're being sent, what the email's looking like, and what it's asking from them. So they can't be all chatting in the lunchroom saying, "Hey, we got all the same email from, Netflix."
Nice. Well, that's time. There's a few more questions we'll answer like in the chat, but we hit time. Thank you so much, guys, for your great questions. Thank you so much, Roisin and Tartan.App, for offering this really affordable but effective cybersecurity training solution. And so we'll end the official webinar there, but there's two more questions we did just get here that I'll answer that we'll have Roisin answer real quick. But if you need to drop, obviously you can drop. QR codes attacking the question hopefully I understand what I'm reading here, but are QR code attacks increasing for some specific reason? I guess that's the nature of the question here.
Yeah, we are definitely seeing that they're increasing, and I think it's because a lot of those email defense or firewalls that you have in place, the images are not actually being caught. So with that, hackers are kind of aware of this and really increasing the QR codes because it's a way that people can scan them without thinking and fall for the trap really easily. And a lot of people are also scanning them on their personal phones or personal devices, which might not have any firewalls in place.
Mm. How do you know if they scan it on a personal device then? Like, how do you know it was them? How do you know it was the teacher? This is a Charlie question, I guess now.
Well, if they do their login, so a lot of times it'll take them to like a Google Workspace login,
I
um,
see.
and then they'd be logging into their work phone from their personal.
Got it. And then is there a way to show that your product is actually improving the risk management? So I think that's a question of, how do you show kind of a before and after, 3 months before Tartan, 3 months after Tartan? How do you show leadership that risk management is actually improving?
Yeah, absolutely. So in our reporting page, you can absolutely see all of the data over time, and your fish risk score will hopefully be going down over time. We are also releasing a summary report email that will be going out to any of the administrators in your team that you have set up. So that's going to be easily able to be forwarded to anybody in the leadership position that you want to showcase kind of the improvements made with Tartan.App. And that will also highlight the best performing schools as
Okay,
well as the
great.
department.
I don't know if I froze or Roisin froze, but probably we'll go ahead and end the webinar right there. And I'm sorry if I froze or she did. If you want a quote, yeah, you can reach out. Oh, there you go. Sorry. Either I froze or you froze. I don't know
We're
who
back.
froze. But yeah, we'll end the call there. Thank you, everyone. Someone did say, "Hey, how do I get a quote?" I'm not making that up. So you can email us and we'll get you a quote. We loop in Roisin and a few folks on our team on most of our emails, and so there's no secret between us. You'll get the same price whether you ask her or you ask us. But yeah, you can reach out to Advent Tech and we'll get you a quote right away.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, thank you guys so much all for joining, and it's been a real pleasure. And thank you, Charlie.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.